Growing up in a good Catholic family, the vocation of the priesthood was something that both of my parents always encouraged.
So, growing up, I'm one of two children. I have a younger sister. My sister and I grew up going to Catholic school, preschool all the way through high school, in a Catholic household. But the faith wasn't really something that was enforced at home. Basically, I had some really good role models in high school to keep me going during that time of my life. But going into college, I really had no idea what I was going to do about my faith, or if I was even going to care about it, really.
Alright, so I'm a cradle Catholic, born and raised Catholic, but throughout middle school, elementary school, and all that, I wasn't really too super into my faith. I sort of drifted in and out of my faith. But my story really begins around high school. And more specifically, pretty much right after my confirmation. Right after my confirmation, I really began to take my faith seriously, and in doing so, I began to sort of have an inkling that the Lord was calling me to the priesthood. I wasn't really satisfied with living a typical life that you think of, going to work, coming back home, just playing video games, playing sports all the time. I really had a deeper hunger within me just to grow deeper in my faith and to grow in intimacy with the Lord. And I found myself, even when I was going to very frequent holy hours, going to daily mass, praying the liturgy of the hours, it still never really felt like enough, and that something was always missing. And as I continued to pray and discern, I didn't really take the discernment thing all too seriously in high school because I wasn't really super familiar with discernment. I've never really been talked to about discernment before coming here. But I still knew that something wasn't right, and something needed to change. Something needed to change with my ordinary life to sort of allow me to be able to give more of myself to God and to the ministry of His church.
Hello, my name is William Gerads. I am a NDSU alum, and I'm currently discerning going to seminary for the Diocese of Fargo. I was asked to tell my vocation story, and it really, honestly, kind of just got to tell the whole thing, or else it just doesn't come across. So, I grew up in Ham Lake, Minnesota. I was one of triplets, and we had an older brother, and we grew up Lutheran. My dad was Catholic, my mom was Methodist, and they just kind of wanted to bring us to whatever church was closest. And we went to church every Sunday and Wednesday for confirmation, and we really enjoyed it, but something was just missing. And as I came to NDSU, I really started to explore what that was. And that's what brought me to the doors of the Newman Center. And, from the day I walked into that old building to where I'm at today, my life has just gotten better every day.
I went to Koinonia here at the Newman Center, which was a great retreat, and just I felt a lot of graces there. But one of the specific things that was a recurring theme at this retreat was the idea of surrender and giving my life over completely to the Lord. And specifically at the very end of the retreat, at Mass on Christ the King, on the feast of Christ the King, Lord of the Universe, Monsignor Schlushman was giving a homily, and he was talking on making Christ the Lord of your universe, and basically completely surrendering your life over to the Lord. And during this homily, I just felt this very. It was not like the voice of the Lord necessarily, or the dawn from on high just broke upon me. Nothing like that, but it was just this question that kind of popped into my head: would you be willing to become a priest?
If you would have told me even 6 months ago that I was going to be entering the seminary by the end of this year, I would have told you were absolutely crazy out of your mind. Like, at the time, even with active discernment, I was still at such a strong grasp on my life, and I really wanted to be in control of everything. But being able to live in the men's hall with so many other great guys, with a bunch of priests to help form me, to help me see the lifestyle that a priest actually lives and that seminarians live, meeting with seminarians, etc., all these amazing opportunities that were provided for me by living in the men's hall that I wouldn't be able to get living on campus have really, really, really helped boost my discernment process and really helped me to gain peace with saying yes to the call.
During that transition of going home during the kind of like the start of the COVID pandemic and everything, one of my good friends ended up getting in quite a bit of trouble with the law, and a lot of stuff kind of came out of the weeds about how he was living his life and how like what type of friend he actually was to me, and a lot of things like that. And combined with leaving college and just some other things going on in life, as transitioning into college, I ended up hitting a very, very dark point in my life, and I really had a choice to make at that point. I would either continue going down the path I was of just being depressed about everything, being cynical about the world, being fearful of the future, and being like just really unhappy, or I could turn to really something else. I could change my life.
I was confirmed and entered the church in 2019. My grandma was my sponsor, and after that, I really started thinking about giving my life to God, and I was going to school for nursing and just decided that wasn't for me. It was a rocky couple of years, first couple of years of being a Catholic, but as I started to grow in holiness and order my life towards Christ, I was able to pay attention in my prayer, Lectio and in adoration, and I got to the point where I thought that, God was calling me to further discern a vocation to the priesthood in seminary.
On a vocations retreat at the Maryville Convent in Valley City a couple months ago, where I was on that retreat, and I'm hearing from all my buddies who went with me that, I'm feeling a lot of peace during this retreat. I'm feeling a lot of peace. I think God's really speaking to me. And I went into that retreat going, okay, I don't really want to be a priest. I kind of just want to be an engineer, get married, live a typical life. But I felt absolutely zero peace during that retreat, or during the first, pretty much up until the last day of that retreat. And I actually felt like the exact opposite of peace. I wasn't like neutral inside. I was actually feeling a lot of like spiritual restlessness, like, okay, you kind of need to be shaken into order. You need to listen. And we were doing some Lectio Divina time, and I really felt God speak to me in that time. I was reading the part when Jesus asked Peter, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" And Peter goes, "Yes, I love you. Yes, I love you." And then Jesus responds, "Feed my sheep, take care of my flock." And it really felt like the Lord was directly speaking to me. Like, if I truly do love the Lord, that I would take care of his people. And I've never really had a moment like that where it's really felt like God directly speaking to me. But that moment really just kind of opened my mind, and I was like, whoa, okay, I should keep an open mind for the rest of this retreat. And sure enough, the next day, Bishop Fulda was saying Mass, and during his homily, he went through pretty much a list of all my concerns of why I didn't want to be a priest, and then kind of just knocked them off one by one and answered them. And in doing so, he really helped me shift my perspective. I looked at a lot of the sacrifices that a priest has to make as not necessarily sacrifices that the priests are willingly making, but that it is sort of God taking those good things away from you, like a wife and a family, and like a luxurious life. But instead, a priest is actively sacrificing these physical goods and in turn taking on spiritual goods. Like, instead of a physical family and physical children, the priest has spiritual children. and a spiritual family, a spiritual flock to take care of. And after hearing Bishop Folda describe it in that manner, it really just helped me go, whoa, there's a lot more power to the sacrifices that a priest make that I really didn't understand. And once I was able to understand that, it was pretty easy for me to say, okay, Lord, if this is something you're calling me to, I'm just going to give it a shot. Yes, I'll apply.
On the morning of the day I was accepted as a seminarian for the Diocese of Bismarck, the vocations director and I were sitting in his office going through the application for the seminary that I'm going to be attending, and he pulled out a sheet of paper and highlighted it like very distinctly for me, saying, I don't know why you have to do this, but you have to go to the dentist and get them to sign this form. And I was sitting in his chair thinking, that's gonna be a problem. Like, I won't be able to go to the dentist for like 3 or 4 months, because that's just how long the wait time is. But I was preparing to just go on a little retreat with a friend of mine to a Benedictine monastery after this appointment with the vocations director. So I just decided, well, I'll deal with it next week when I get back from the retreat. So kind of put that piece of paper back in the envelope and just move on. I get home and sitting in my pickup ready to go on this retreat, and my phone buzzes, and it's the dentist office. They text me saying, can you come to the dentist today? We have an appointment. And I think, oh no. Like, this is not something that would normally happen. I changed my plans to go to the dentist after that text, because that wasn't like just some random coincidence. That was God saying, no, you're gonna do this. I'm gonna make sure it happens for you. So just let me handle this little issue for you. And that's like the most concrete thing that I've like really ever experienced of God being like, nope, I'm gonna keep you going. I'm gonna take control of this issue that's in your life. Let me handle it, and I'll make sure everything's all right. Ever since then, I've just been like so at peace with my decision to leave pharmacy school, leave all my friends here, and pursue this next call, this next adventure in life. That has just been absolutely fantastic.
There was some frustrations in my, especially early on in my discernment, that was just, especially just the question between seminary or marriage. And I would kind of go to adoration and just be like, what do you want me to do, God? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And yeah, it's kind of like banging your head against a brick wall, I felt like sometimes, just constantly asking. But Monsignor Schlussman actually gave me some really good advice about that. He said, you know, in a relationship, if you took a girl on a date or whatever, you wouldn't just sit across from the table and her be like, are we gonna get married? Are we gonna get married? Are we gonna get married? Like, that's not what you're gonna do. You will sit and visit with that person, and you will just simply get to know them and be in a relationship with them. And from that relationship, that's where you will be able to discern, you know, is this the woman I'm supposed to marry or whatnot, whatever the case may be. But that was, for me, I'm still working on it, obviously, but that was a huge, I think, a turning point in my prayer, was just focusing more on the relationship aspect versus every time I went to adoration or every time I pray. She's like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Like, okay, no, I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to be with the Lord, and I'm just going to, just look at Him and Him look at me, and just like be okay with that and not have to have some major revelation every single time I sit down in prayer.